Dragon Quest II, the HD 2D remake on Nintendo Switch. This is a research stream for the remake of a video game that I've never played before. I mentioned in my Dragon Quest 1 video, which is hopefully already on this channel, that this was Dragon Warrior on the NES was the first RPG I ever played, and it's the reason why I became a Japanese RPG fan or an RPG fan generally. The reason why your boy, stands a death goddess, Lance Valkyrie, and why it's basically half my personality, is because that game got me down the road of, ooh, I can level up. It got me on the experience loop. It got me on that grind, and I've been on it since. I've been on it since the Reagan era. Well, that's not even the Reagan era. I think it was like the 1991. So basically, I've been on it since the 90s. So that's yeah. So I was an 80s baby, but I became a JRPG nerd because of Dragon Warrior. The game doesn't hold up. I think it's fairly obvious to admit that. But when it came out and it's the first RPG, yeah, it's the Pokemon effect. It's the first RPG you ever played, so it has that Pokemon effect. And I'm never gonna knock that. Everyone's got to start somewhere. I wouldn't throw someone to the wolves of a game like Resonance of Fate, which is the game that, which is the game that I use as my channel trailer because the tutorials that I did for that game were set up as a. Are we creating? Let me choose an adventure log. Yeah, I said I was going to delete that one because that wasn't just for music. Okay. So Ghost of Chala Bogart, same as usual. So yeah, I have a channel trailer set up for Resonance of Fate because that's the kind of RPG I play these days. Like very stupid, technical, hardcore kind of. Yeah, like your tactics ogres, I guess, are in that category. Brigandine, I did videos on that. I did a whole playlist of. Hold on. I did a whole playlist of Dark Rose Valkyrie on the PlayStation 4, which I still have over there because I spent like 5-6 hours playing it. I still don't understand it. Like you can play it like dumb by like auto attacking everything, I guess, but because there are so many mechanics to muck around in, you can kind of get lost if you're interested in tooling around with them, even if you arguably don't have to. But I have a whole playlist on the channel about turn-based RPGs, turn-based games generally, even if they're not RPGs, I guess. But again, so yeah, there's Pokemon content on this channel, but that's not the kind of channel this is. This is a all-purpose gamer channel that goes back to this. I think the oldest game I played on this channel is like from the 1970s. I'm pretty sure I played Space Invaders, and I played Hyankyo Alien on this channel, the original Japanese Pac-Man-like game, I guess you could call it. But the point is that this is one of the meatier parts of what I do, which is when I'm not Skyrimming, I'm playing turn-based games or fighting games or random open world games usually. But the thing that I love more than anything, if I'm being brutally honest, is playing a game that I never got a chance to play when I was younger, and I'm playing it again for the first time. I'm playing it for the first time. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all these games are worth playing. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that if I were as a mature gamer then as I am now, that I would ever want to play those games back then because it's just there's so much more. And again, in 1990, when I'm playing Dragon Warrior on the NES from renting it from a video store, I had no expectations to what a turn-based game could be. So the basic appeal of the gameplay loop worked for me simply because I was receptive to it, is what I would say. I had family members who never got into RPGs for that reason. They were never receptive to the idea of a menu-driven game. Games are toys. Yeah, it's like game. Yes, I mean games are toys. Yeah, that's the thing. Games are toys that you play with, I guess, not board games that you tool around with. The name of the Prince of Canuck. The Prince of Canuck. I guess we can call him Vancouver. Caradoc. Paradoc. Who's the Prince of Canuck? Oh, I guess we can call him Vancouver. I don't know. We'll have a little fun with this. I don't know any other princes. I know T'Challa. I know T'Challa, obviously, but trying to figure out what else we can do. So he's a Canucks. We'll call him Vancouver, I guess. We can get fancier if we want later. We're not going to worry about it. There's two other people I think we have to name, and I want to say I hope I can change that later. It's not perfect. We're just filling. I want to say these are the party members I get to fight with because the original Dragon Warrior there were no parties. It was just you. As I recall, it was literally just you fighting one enemy, and that was it. It was one-on-one fighting. It was menu driven, and that's fine. Like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that. I mean, I played Little Town Hero on this channel, the game from the Game Freak turn-based game. It's really ridiculous. It's card combat, but there's also a board that you move around. After every turn, you move around a board, and the board unlocks buffs and debuffs and certain conditions. But ultimately, I guess you could argue it's basically you. It's not even Yu-Gi-Oh. It's just you and you activate it's you pull a bunch of cards and then you play them, and it's all one-on-one duels. But because you have the board and because you can whiff on so many attacks, and because there are so many restrictions on the actions you can perform at any given time, it becomes a bit more cerebral than a lot of games like this, which are like brain off, abnegation, roam around, get into random fights, make very simple decisions, and your character levels up. So that's not okay. Princess of Moonbook. Are we going Princess Mononoke? Are we going Sailor Moon? We're going Serena, the Princess of Moonbrook. Actually, hold on. Parano, whatever. So Sailor Moon, the Princess of Moonbrook. That's how we're gonna do it. Selena Shields, the Princess of Moonbrook. Is it Serena or Selena? We'll go Serena. I haven't seen Sailor Moon in a minute, so don't ask me about that. The fact that I know that much about Sailor Moon is probably gonna cause me to get some nasty comments. That and my vocal inflections. Okay, so I guess these are the people who are going to be in my party. Yeah, there are a couple of games on my wish list that I'm probably never going to play traditionally on this channel because there's no way for me to obtain them legally, and I'm not willing to pay the price required to obtain cartridges for them. But RPGs of this era I will eventually wind up playing on this channel if I get the chance would be stuff like Ultimate Exodus on the NES. I've never played an Ultimate game on this channel before. I do own Ultima Underworld on PC. I bought the CD-ROM back in the late '90s when I was in university. I bought Tomb Raider, Full Tilt Pinball. I'll be able to play those games now, actually, if you can believe it, because I have a Pentium 3 PC. I have a Pentium 2 PC over there. I got a Pentium 3. It's a laptop, and I got a Pentium 3 laptop in the other room. I got Civilization 2 on it, along the original PC version of Civilization 2. I want to say it's version 2.42 or something like that. And I'm able to play it now. And I have a VGA capture converter, a VGA to HDMI capture device now, or converter, so I can now capture that Civilization 2 footage. It'll probably be on this channel if it's not already. So that game is definitely something I'm gonna play. I might pull out Tomb Raider just for funsies. It's not gonna hold up. I never liked the game when it came out. I guess for super funsies, I can play. I'm super funsies. I can play in high def mode because I had a Pentium 100. I don't know how little RAM I had back then. That thing ran like a slideshow when you try to run it in a high def mode. Still better than the switchboard, am I right? But apparently, yeah, that game. I gotta play Full Tilt Pinball because that's an all timer. Played like hundreds of hours. Like in the era before podcasts, I played so much Full Tilt Pinball, and I would listen to video game music. So I listened to the entire. I listened to this. I remember back in the day when I was a member of the video game music community. I was sampling orchestral remixes of Dragon Quest, along I think with Final Fantasy, obviously the orchestral remixes. The first time I ever heard the Book of Ys 1 and 2 CD-ROM soundtracks, and of course the Dracula X Rondo of Blood soundtracks. The first time I ever heard them was when I was playing Full Tilt Pinball on PC. On the, what was it? Yeah, it was on the Windows 95 Pentium 100 PC that I had. Only one core back then. That was all you needed. You had one core, and that's the way it was, and we liked it. Same with this Pentium 2 laptop I got. I want to say it's the same with that Pentium 3 I got in the other room. So I'll pull out, and since it has a built-in CD-ROM, I can plug in, I can play those games. But what else do I need? So Capitalism 2 I got a while later. I got Heroes of Might and Magic. Something of the West. I got a bunch of like Age of Wonders I have. Also, I'll play those games eventually. But I want to say those games are compatible with newer laptops, so it's easier for me to capture from them. Though I do have a Windows 8 laptop in the other room. It's kind of sluggish right now because it's like a decade old, but it's more than a decade old. But that was one of the first that was the first laptop I ever used to play Steam games. And I did capture some footage from that Windows 8 laptop. It's a dual core. It's got like 2 gigs of RAM in it. But the point is that I have a bunch of Steam Deck friendly games on my Steam Deck playlist, my low spec PC game list, and I have a bunch of captures from that laptop. So yeah, if these games run on a laptop that's that slow, it's obviously going to run on a Steam Deck. You would hope, because a Steam Deck will run games like Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I tend to believe it will run a game like that. I mean, that laptop runs Skyrim. I have Skyrim footage from that laptop. But since it runs Civilization 2, that means that in compatibility mode it works. That means I'm able to do all the stuff like I'm able to capture from HDMI out of that laptop. And since it has so I got to keep that thing going if I'm being honest. Cuz I have a couple of Windows 10 laptops that are really kind of shaky. They do have CD-ROMs in them though. Like they're AMD Ryzen laptops. I did a video when I was testing out the Capcom Bell to Action collection, I think it was called. The Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, I think it was called. I was testing out Captain Commando and Final Fight on that Radeon, on that quad core Radeon, I think that quad core AMD laptop. But I want to say I had one other game that I tested on that. I did do some Arkham City on that laptop. So again, there's a bunch of Steam Deck friendly games on that low spec playlist. If you're curious what those older laptops can still do. But I still have to. Well, again, because I have that old PC. Again, I'm not gonna play a bunch of Civilization 2 yet. Maybe over the holiday at the end of the year. It'll be my end of the year thing. I can do a marathon of a bunch of Civilization 2 because I got a bunch of Civilization 2 footage from the PlayStation 1, from that port, and it's still one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games of all time. Now I put like 100 hours into it, maybe 200. But the PC version is like indisputably the greatest version ever. The problem is that it's hard to play now. Like I would say, well, again, on modern computers, because again, I still have a Windows 8 computer, several of them, but they're laptops. So yeah, I can still do that. But if you have Windows 10, I think things start to get kind of dicey. Yeah, I pulled it. Yeah, I had Windows 10 over here. I have a Windows 10. In fact, I'm capturing on a Windows 11 laptop. I got a Windows 10 laptop right here, and I don't think it cannot play Civilization 2. I tried. So the Windows 8 laptop seems to work fine, not the Windows 10 laptop. So that's another reason to keep the Windows 8 laptop working. And because it has traditional USB connections, it's got old school USB connections. It still has value. That 10-year-old laptop still has value. I might yeah, I want to say I trashed. Yeah, I had a Pentium 4 desktop decades ago. Yeah, about 2 decades ago, and I trashed it because that was before I was playing. I think you could play games on it. It was like a single core, but I think you could probably fit like I don't think you can fit a Radeon 240 in there. Okay, sorry, skip. We're not gonna skip. Um, we'll let this play out. But what am I thinking of here? No, but again, those old laptops I can still use. That's good. Yeah, Jeff Gerstmann played the original NES game for this a while ago, and yeah, this storytelling sequence. Yeah, like unlike Final, well, I think Final Fantasy two and Final Fantasy 2 and 3 were a bit more limited in terms of storytelling. I think, but Final Fantasy 4, I want to say, is when that franchise started leaning more into storytelling. Is this? This is not working. I'm trying to set up my YouTube connection is not working. Is the internet connection bad? Let's find out. Okay, sorry. We got a dialogue option. Didst thou dream ill-omened dreams perchance? Let's just say yes. Okay, let me check on something. That's bizarreness. I mean, the internet. I mean, maybe. I mean, is the yeah the router's on? Is it yes? Yeah, I think the signal's kind of whack. Yeah. We going south or north? I don't know which way I have to point this thing. Okay, so it needs to be over here. Yeah, so I have to point it in that direction. Okay. Give me a second. All right, so I'll put that closer to here. Okay, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, south is that way. Yeah. I have to do this now because I'm mucking. I'm reorienting my antennas. I'm working on my router stuff. So I got to see what's going on with that. But yeah, since I have the VGA capture connection going, I can pull out some old Windows 98 games like Civilization 3, which actually. Okay, looks like my connection got cut off. I apologize. I don't know why the video stopped. I think it might have been the switch. I think it might have been the switch to the YouTube. But that's okay. You don't worry about it. I was trying to set up a split screen thing here. Of course, it's locked. Is it locked by DLC? I mentioned in the last video there was this weird thing where the game would show you a treasure chest and then say if you pre-ordered this game, you'll get access to this loot. Which is, look, I'm not gonna complain about that because I probably don't need the loot, but I bet people who pre-ordered it might. You know how it is. If you pre-order a game, you sometimes get like extra stuff in the game that makes it a lot easier. You get massively OP gear, just massively overpowered gear. Of course, it's locked. Okay, so let's not. Also, yeah, it's on the map. Those icons, and we're implying that these icons are implying that we're not going to be able to go through those doors. Where am I supposed to be going again? There's the item shop. Okay, so let's leave. So look at that little icon, the mini map. Go this way. I thought there was supposed to be a map. Is there a map button? Let's assign some shortcut commands. Press the R button while on the go to bring up the shortcut commands menu. So it's like a shift key, which is good for some things, like if you need to heal without, if you want to perform a certain action without digging 4 or 5 levels deep into a menu. Sure, I get it. I'm sure I'm talking too fast. Let's see. That's probably why people think I'm a millennial. At least they hear me on the phone. Yeah, the world map. There we go. R up. Okay, so that's where we are in the world, not where we are in the town. The scrolling on this is kind of choppy. Not sure what's going on with that, but hey, what are you gonna do? Yeah, what are you gonna do? So obviously a much bigger world than Dragon Quest One. That's adorable. It looks like a dragon. Yeah, so that's yeah. I want to say this was the first game. Well, what not in RPG history, not for Japanese RPGs, but yeah, this is a game where it's like I can totally see if a world's this big, it's a sequel to a very popular game. But apparently, Dragon Quest III was the game that made Japan change the law so that video games couldn't be released on school days because kids were calling in cough cough sick because they got that Dragon Quest disease, that Dragon Quest III disease. It's worse than COVID. It's a nice reflection. I'm usually okay with these 3D HD remakes, these Octopath Traveler 3D dot hero looking remakes. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. I prefer this to like the original pixel art in most NES games, in most NES RPGs. If I'm being honest, like if off the top of my head, the only two RPGs I can think of with decent visuals might be like Might and Magic which I think ICOM and American Sammy did. FASF, mess around. Yeah. Okay, yeah. FAFO, FASF. Let's see. Well, I guess we're gonna save anyway. If you're poisoned, if you're cursed, you can come here and they'll cure you. But I want to say if you don't come here, it's a persistent state. And I want to say in the original NES game, I thought if you were poisoned in the NES game, if you get poisoned during a fight, or I guess if you're walking around, if you get poisoned by a tile, like if you step on like a poison tile in the swamp or something, if any character in your party is in a poisoned state, every time you take a step here, every time you take a step on this screen like this, if any step you take, they start to lose HP. And in this game, it's not every step. I want to say it's like every other step, something like that. Which is the kind of thing you can turn on and off, I guess, in a lot of these modern games. Not many of them, but some of them. But what's that other game I'm thinking of? But yeah, I mean, in this game, if you're poisoned and you don't have an antidote, which I think you can buy at some point, which we'll find out when we go to the item shop, you have to come to a church and they'll heal you. I don't know what cursing is, but I know what poisoning is because that happened to me in the Dragon Quest 1 video. Text running. Okay. You have to hold the button down. Okay, so that means I'm gonna have to put it on a toggle. If you know me, you know I love my toggles. We'll do the battle speed at normal, then we'll crank it up later. Remember commands. Let's not do suggested actions. We'll leave that off for now. We'll turn it on later, but I mean, I want to see. Again, I've never played this game before, so maybe I should turn some of this stuff off. Um, that's on. Treacherous locations, secret spots, that's cheating. So I won't do that for me. Dragon Quest, Draconian Quest, Drakey Quest, Dracky Quest. Fair challenge. We'll leave it at that for now. Recover when leveling up. That seems fine. Invincibility only applies in Dracky Quest mode. Again, easy mode, sure. Or if you want to get past certain test display speed, we'll go normal for now because again we're just starting. We'll speed that up later. I try not to do that unless like if I'm recording videos for like distribution or broadcast for YouTube, I try not to do like I try to do like quick text. If nothing else, you'll get a chance to read what people are saying and some of the messages that the game gives off. So if the status pops off, you'll be able to see it without wondering what was that thing that just flashed. But again, we can crank it up later. Some armor. And of course, in these games, you don't find. I want to say you don't find better gear. Maybe in treasure chests you might, but usually you have to buy it. So you get into fights to earn the money you need to buy the gear you need to survive stronger enemies before you level up. But then you use the gear to defeat the stronger enemies so that you can level up by defeating them. So that's the basic gameplay loop. We're not selling anything. I guess I could sell if I find something I don't need. No frills. Why would I? First of all, well, here's the thing. I have a copper sword already. In the original game, I don't know if you had anything. Because back in that era, it's entirely possible your character would be naked, or you would have a Deku stick, and that's it. Maybe if you're playing Draconian Quest difficulty, the hardest difficulty, yeah, maybe you have to buy all this stuff. In Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 1, that was definitely true. You had to equip your party before you even left town. Actually, you didn't have to. You could fight naked, barehanded naked. Sure. And there are runs for Final Fantasy where if you just want to play the game barehanded with one fighter and nobody else, you can do that. I mean, the game requires you to pick 4 party members when you start. But if you just let them, if you don't give them any armor or whatever, and you just let them die, then you're able to play single player mode. No, I personally can't imagine playing that for 50 hours because the grind alone would be insane. I do have the Final Fantasy collection. Was the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection 1 through 6 on the Switch, and there are options where where I think you can speed up. You can speed up the flow of combat. You can help you. You can make enemies give you twice as much experience, so you can speed up this. You can speed up how you can speed up some of that grind, which matters for a game like Final Fantasy One with that single player challenge, with that solo party challenge, because of all the grinding you would inevitably have to do to survive most several parts of that game. Several what would you call them? Meat walls, mob walls. I forget what you call them. Basically, their enemies are just too strong, so you won't be able to make much progress until you level up. But the only way you can level up in that game is to kill weaker enemies to get the money. So you can multiply the amount of money you earn from a fight, from winning a fight. So that speeds things up. So the challenge is not how long do I have to do this tedious thing. Hold on. Okay. In the original game, I want to say there was a menu option here called search, where you just kind of like you just kind of searched the floor at your feet. And I want to say there were no indicators at all. But if you searched the right tile, you would find secret items, probably like potions or gold or whatever. I don't know if it was ever a lot. Again, that's something I would test if I could play the original game. And I've said this before. If you make a game like this, it would be nice if there were an option to just play the original game, not as an Easter egg, like just making an option. Just let people play the original game, even if it's like bonus footage. I don't know. Woof woof woof. Scooby Dooby Doo. But yet again, in those old games, if you just press a if you press the search button and it'll just say nothing's here. You found nothing. But at least here, I want to say there are sparkles. So at least there are indicators that there might be something here. But as you saw, there's stuff behind foreground objects. You obviously weren't doing that in those days. Now, maybe if you were to say like find a secret path, like if you press against a wall, you can walk through the wall, like in Final Fantasy IV. Definitely in Final Fantasy VI. Got Luke. So like, yeah, if there's like a pillar in like an old game, there might be like a pillar, like a column, and your character can walk behind the column. Yeah, I can understand putting like a treasure chest there. But the idea of just like searching the ground at your feet behind like a foreground obstruction seems weird. But yeah, like if there was something glowing here, I could probably press the button and see if there's something to pick up. Or let's say, for instance, if the object is scrolling like this, you might see like I said, I saw the treasure chest there. It's kind of hidden by the planks, but you can kind of see that. If there's like a glowing object here that's obscured by the planks on this building, that would be a cute feature to add. But again, if you're remaking a game in this style with like RPG Maker, for instance, I guess the way to do it is to have foreground objects you can walk behind, or have like odd things like I don't know, like pots in conspicuous locations, like things in odd formations, like kind of cluing people if there's something conspicuous about this, and there might be something here worth investigating. Like yeah, you might see like butterflies around flowers. Like maybe you can maybe you can pull the flower, like that kind of thing. So yeah, and I'm always when I play these old games, I'm always thinking, like, oh wait, I found a thing. See? So I found a Deku stick. So again, this was obscured by the objects. So I don't think there was any way I could have seen that unless I went up here. Like if I were up there, I guess if I scrolled around this building, I might have seen something. Yeah, then you might be able to see something flash in the distance on the edge of the screen, possibly. So yeah, if you can put secrets like that in your game for funsies, I guess. Yeah, look down the well. Ooh, that's cool. Of course it's locked. It's locked by DLC. I can tell thee, pal, but once told us. So are you a Morlock? Are you a mutant that's too unsightly to live on the surface world? Yeah. Spill the beans. Yeah, she's a Ninja Turtle. Da, 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 da. Open his treasure chest, dog. there pizza in here? It's a seed of stamina. Stamina. Yep. Actually, the weather's gonna get above zero. For all you people who have the metric system, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, here in the Fallout 3 Washington D.C. metro area, temperature today will be 6 degrees Celsius, still 6 degrees centigrade. So we're basically in the 40s. We're basically in the high 30s, low 40s. So the temperature will not exceed, the high temperatures will not exceed the single digits centigrade at all this week. So we'll be between 0 and 8 degrees centigrade this week here in DC, which is this time of year it's weird. We're usually like 10 to 15 degrees Celsius this time of year. The 50s, we're in the 50s, the mid 50s, and then we hit Christmas, then the temperatures start to dip below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. When we are 3 weeks away from the winter solstice, I want to say 2 weeks, December 6th. So yeah, a couple of weeks. So, but remember, it's not the winter solstice until Lady J says so from GI Joe. I do not have the NES version of Solstice. I used to own it. So we'll bust out the Tim Fallon soundtrack, I guess. Okay, we're done. Where are we going? Speak to the Captain of the Guard. Where's the Captain of the Guard? There's no map. At least there's no large map. So I'll go up here, and there's a little circle that says, "Go here, doofus." So we'll do that. So we're half an hour into the game. We haven't gotten to a fight. We'll do some fighting. Don't worry. You can't play a turn-based RPG without a little bit of fighting once in a while. But yeah, I'm just kind of taking it in because I've never played a game. I never played this particular game. And I'll eventually. Do I have Dragon Quest 3? I'll double check. 'Cause I know I got this remake. And I might have Dragon Quest 3 in the other room. And again, that is the game. Like, I think it sold more copies than Super Mario 3, which is saying something. Super Mario 3 sold like gangbusters. So like drive-by gangbusters. So what are we doing here? I'm supposed to talk to the captain of the guard, and he's not here. Is he in another part of the castle? Just a second. Yeah. Hold on. Is there a treasure chest here? Hold on. We found a glowy thing. Is it a teleportation thingamithig? I mean, this seems cool, being able to teleport and crap. Shipwright Shrine. I don't think that's the captain of the guard we're looking for. Oh, okay, my dishes are done. Dishes are done, man. Yeah, that's right. I did a whole bunch of like. I finally used the oven for the first time in like a month. I have to use it a couple more times. Whoops. Okay, yeah. Okay, don't stop. I meant to go back the other way. So this is not an airship, I don't think. But Final Fantasy 1 had an airship, so I wouldn't be shocked if there were one here. But maybe we'll go sailing. Because yeah, back in when Final Fantasy 1 came out, it's like, yeah, you got a ship. Yeah, you had an airship. That was interesting. It was another way to get around. Opened up new continents. That was cool. Give me the loot. Of course it's locked. Okay, where's the friggin' captain of the guard? This is actually not unusual for old video games. The game would say, no. Here's the thing: there would not be a helper objective on the right side of the screen saying "Go here." You would have to pay attention to the cutscene, or if you were me, you would wander around saying, "Where do I go? What do I do?" So you can't leave town. Maybe I can leave town. Let's see if we can leave town. And if we can't, then we'll go to see the captain of the guard. Okay, so I don't know if that was in the original NES Famicom game. But yeah, the game's like, yeah, you can't leave yet. You have to talk to this person. Well, where are they? Well, unless if you didn't have a strategy guide or Nintendo Power, then you wouldn't know. We didn't. You couldn't go on the internet back then. Or if you could, you were probably a nerd in college. And maybe there was some IRQ you could go to. I don't know. Some chat. Kids. IRQ was like a Discord, I guess you could say, without mods. Were there mods? Get the item seller first. Well, I did. So where's the captain of the guard? Hey, do you guys know where the captain of the guard is? Can you put like an arrow on the mini map so I can find them? Oh, here he is. Or wait, he's not the captain. Do you guys know where the captain of the guard is? Thou art mine heir, etc. and so forth. I'm not even paying attention to the dialogue at all. I'm just rambling. I have Shaggy Dog stories. I'm not that old, but I'm not AARP old yet, but I'm old enough to have Shaggy Dog stories about NES games I've never played before. Lady. My lady doth entreat me to be more ladylike. Yeah, the princess was a maybe she was a messy witch, who knows. Interact. I found a seed of magic. See, I don't mind having like stuff just here, like yeah, that's right. Sorry, the interact icon appears, so I knew there was something there. It's like so it's like it's a trigger. Traveler's tips. Don't need that. So what's the button for the map? Making sense of maps. Why? But that's the world map. By turning on your objective marker. Yeah, I did. So again, that kind of stuff I like. Because some of these old games, you'd wander around town talking to every single NPC. It's like, oh, an hour later you found the guy you were looking for. He was in like a bar somewhere. He was in the back of a bar somewhere, and no one told you where they were. I want to say Ephemeral Fantasia did some of that. I've been told it. I think it was a PS2 game that kind of did that. And I hate that crap. Like I like exploration. I don't like having to talk to every random NPC. Skyrim kind of does that, but again, they have waypoint markers. And of course, if you're walking to random NPCs, they might be quest givers. So they'll unlock new quests for you. So I don't mind that kind of stuff. I don't mind talking to people to unlock quests. And I think, what was it? Okay, we don't need to do that. Yeah. So like, what game was it? Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles had like you're supposed to talk to NPCs because there was literally a social network because you can unlock a dialogue tree where they mention another person's name and that unlocks a dialogue tree option. I think so. You can improve your relationship with them and the people in their social network by talking to the people that they mention. Then it becomes like a web and that was kind of interesting. I didn't spend much time doing it. Doors locked. So I guess I can't get to any of these treasure chests, huh? Shouldn't the captain of the guard be guarding these treasure chests, one would wonder. Where is he? There's no icon telling me where he is. Am I an idiot? He's here. But where here? Is he behind some locked door? Yeah, he's here. Wait, is he here? No? So I think I actually have to go in there. No, I didn't sleep well, thank you very much. I'm experiencing narrative foreboding. Hold on, is there something behind here? No. Okay. Again, this would be the kind of game where you could highlight some gold here or whatever. By the way, what are those seeds that I got? Okay, so they're individual seeds. Permanently increases MP. Okay, perfect. But I won't use it. I'll save it. I'll wait till I get my party members, and I'll give it to one of them. There's at least 30 HP to a single. Okay, whatever. But I mean, that's something I would add to an RPG Maker game. Like, add like stuff you pick up that increases your attributes at your pace. In fact, it's entirely argued if you level up. Like, imagine if you level up and you go to like a store that like gives you stuff when you level up. Like, oh, here's a seed of whatever. So you can choose what attributes go up that way. Now, should you attach, you know, character progression to consumables? Probably not. But it's a nice bonus, I think. Again, again, you can get deep into the weeds in game design if you want. But I am always curious. Again, I want to do some RPG stuff. I want to do some RPG Maker stuff because if you're doing game design and you don't want to get dirty with like real time controller inputs like input lag, gravity. Because when I was a kid, most of the games I designed were real time action platformers. You know, like your Mega Man 2's and your Batman's and your Mario's. I made a lot of games like that, but that requires a lot of like tuning in terms of like how does your character like how high does your character jump? Like how do the physics work on jumping in a game like that? Like that's really frustrating. I never quite mastered. I never quite looked it up. But if you were making like a shooter, it's not so bad. All you have to worry about is how fast your character moves when you whip the stick around. Then you can get fancy with it. But if you're making an RPG, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. You can kind of you can kind of get your hands dirty with like exploration or like puzzles or basic logic, basic AI behaviors. If you don't want to deal with combat, you can just make your game exploration based or like imagine a game that's set in a town like this and you're like talking to NPCs and you're unlocking a bunch of dialogue trees. You don't have to make a visual novel. I mean, you could make a visual novel, but it would look like this. Here's the captain of the guard. Why did I not come here earlier? Again, most modern games say like, here's an arrow on the screen. Go here, go there. Again, in the 90s, you could go to like GameFAQs.com and read an FAQ or a walkthrough that tells you where to go. This is me trying to make sense of the game. So I'm capturing this in real time. And remember, I have guides that tell me on my mini map, if I'm in the area, the game will tell me. So I have a map. I don't have a guide, but I have an indicator when the objective marker, when the objective is on my mini map. So there's no town map. There's no local map like in Skyrim. But there is a mini map, so that the game kind of tells you if there's a locked door nearby, so you can see those icons on the screen. I turned them on in the settings menu. So again, that's the kind of stuff that usually isn't in an old game when it originally came out, but gets added when these remakes come out. I mean, again, what I would do is I would give people the option to play the original game, the stripped down, unaltered experience. But I get it. I totally get it. And again, I love retro. I love retro games. I love playing old games for the first time. So I will still play a remaster. I'm not really invested in a lot of old games, but I do want to experience them in a somewhat authentic way. Obviously, I have a Sega Genesis sitting right here, Model One with the headphone jack. I bust this out if I want to play some Streets of Rage for some reason. I'm going to do some Streets of Rage later. I got the Genesis six pack, so again, if you want the authentic Model One experience, I got a CRT back there that's actually younger than the Genesis. That CRT I have in the other room is it's a gorgeous JVC. Very good picture out of that thing. When I want to play Genesis games like the real way, I plug this Genesis into that CRT. I play some Atomic Runner. I played Atomic Runner on that CRT. Fantastic game. It's currently one of my favorite Genesis games. So yeah, that Atomic Runner, Shadow Dancer, Strider probably still. I do still love those games. And Atomic Runner I discovered this year. So if I'm making a list of my favorite games of 2020, gaming in 2025, Atomic Runner, it's in my Genesis Hall of Fame now. I'm gonna go back and play more of it later. I'll try to do a full run. I had a lot of fun playing that game on this channel, and it felt good to discover that game in real time, playing it for the first time. Like it's like I get it. Not a lot of people aren't talking about it. I mean, obviously, the shmup junkie was talking about, which is how I heard about it because I knew it existed, but I didn't know if it was any good. And he was raving about it. But as soon as I played, I'm like, yeah, like if I rented this game as a kid, I would have really liked this. But what's good is that I'm playing it now as a jaded, 40 something, and I really liked Atomic. Again, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it again later. That's a game I'm gonna keep. Like I might sell like half of these Genesis games. Like I got RoboCop v Terminator at a good price. It's like $40 loose these days, and I got it for 20. But it needed some cleaning. I had to bust out the cotton swabs with the rubbing alcohol, the 70%, the 140 proof, kind of clean that off. And it took a little bit of a fiddling to get a proper seat, because you know how cartridge games are. You're not supposed to blow in them, but you kind of wiggle it around. You kind of make sure you lift it out, you shove it back in. You do it like you spend 5 minutes doing that, and then eventually it boots. I love retro consoles, but again, if there were like if there were like if you could like just put like a say an SD card in your Genesis and it just played games automatically, you're good. So I would prefer like I like again the authentic controllers and the again the authentic hardware with the authentic outputs, even as ugly as they are. Like I'm playing this Genesis. I was playing my Genesis via a DVD recorder, so I got the low input lag. I would hope to my OLED that I'm playing on right now. The lag on this OLED's like less than 1 frame. 16 and 2/3 milliseconds, 16.6 milliseconds per frame, less than 1 frame of lag, which is what you would want. Ideally, you probably want to get down to like 6 or 7 milliseconds. I have no idea what a CRT input lag would be. People keep talking about it like it's basically zero. I wouldn't be shocked if it was less than 7 milliseconds. I wouldn't be shocked if it was like 5 milliseconds of lag. So we're going out finally. It looks like. Can I save? We'll save when we get to when we get outside. So this is one of my least favorite parts of JRPGs. Is the part where you don't know where to go. Is the part where you just don't know where to go next, and you're just wandering around looking for how to get to the next objective. And that's the kind again. Modern games, not only do they tell you where to go, they sometimes show you the path to get there. In the case of games like Skyrim, you can turn on the guide markers. I might turn them off someday. Like I might like play a version of the game where like it's like quote totally immersive, no helpers. And I know the game well enough where it might be okay. But Skyrim's one of those games where if you want to experience it like regular, then you can just stick to roads, turn off all the indicators, turn off the helpers, and just kind of just sink into it. I might do that. I already did a Switch version. I already played a version of the Switch. I might do that actually because I played it. I've been mucking around with it other ways. I yeah, I can muck. Yeah. I also might quote experiment with the wives that I can get in this game. Actually, yeah, that's right. There are also some husbands you can get in this game. Yeah, wives and husbands. Who else? Well, some spouses are better than others because they like you're allowed to level up with them. But when I say that, I mean you're like, could you train me in this? I think they train you for free. So it's like I think if you marry what's her name with the brave heart makeup, she's like, oh yeah, I think she'll train you in like heavy armor or something. I think yeah, some what's her name? If you marry what's her name from Markath, the female ogre from Markath, I think she would I think she trains you in smithing for free. That like once a day, something like that. I forget. I must needs remain here to see our defenses. Wilt thou bear this? Okay, whatever. I'm sure some Japanese language speakers will be able to clarify. Like, do these characters speak like feudal Japanese, or do they speak like? That's I mean, yeah. Are they speaking like feudal Japanese in the original game? I remember there's a dude. I think his name's what's his name? Oliver Gia, Jia, Oliver Jia. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He lives in Japan. He saw the Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie when it launched, and he was saying he's like he speaks Japanese, like he knows Japanese, but he says it's very hard for him to follow the story because there's old timey dialogue in it. Now this is the anime takes place in the Taisho period, which is 1920s, Roaring 20s basically. I want to say the 19 teens to the 1920s, so basically World War I basically. So what am I thinking of? I think when he says old timey, I think there was a certain way of speaking in Japanese, and that's that old school. Now, if you're in America, maybe you watch some old gangster movies. It probably gives you that same vibe. I guess you can watch some old Humphrey Bogart movies, I guess, to get kind of like watch some old gangster movies and get that vibe. If you saw Miller's Crossing, that came out what 1990. It's a Coen Brothers movie. I need to watch that again. I loved that movie. I need to watch that again. I remember loving the dialogue in that too. But yeah, Miller's Crossing is the kind of movie where it's like maybe you're just in the mood for a gangster movie, like an old school like mobster film. I remember that being a very good movie. I saw it on VHS way back in the day. That'll just do. So we can actually fight some. So we're gonna end the film on some. We're gonna end the video on some fighting. It looks like. But yeah, any RPG Maker games I developed, they would have like let me put it this way. I would treat the town as a menu that you could explore. Like basically, you'd be in town, you can choose from a list. Do you want to teleport to the like it would be a screen. Do you want to go to the shop, the bar, the inn? You just choose it from the menu and you're automatically there. But if you want to wander around the town, you can. And it's worth it because that exploration would unlock other quest givers. It would unlock other quests, like side quests, some hidden items, some alternate paths. So the idea is that you would always be able to just select your destination from a menu if you just want to get to if you just want to get to a point of interest quickly. But if you want to explore, the game would give you that option. It wouldn't be mandatory. Like you wouldn't wander around like an idiot like this. In other words, I would design the game so that you can get to where you want to go quickly, but it behooves you to explore because it's worth it. In fact, the game would tell you, um, um, you should definitely consider exploring because you'll find lots of hidden stuffs and you'll unlock more content, basically. Head to king, can't speak to the king. R1 up, bust out the world map. There, okay. We're down to it, huh? So now I can save the game. Yeah, I forgot to mention, if you press the plus button on this joypad, the game has a log that you can read. I forget where it is. Is it under here? What would that be under? I know it's possible for you to read a log. Recall, I think. Number of memories, okay. Okay, so this is the game revealing everything that I completely ignored. So you can read through the old story. Again, this is useful in old games because, again, in lots of old games, if you turn off the indicators that tell you where the objectives are, and you don't have the little helper guides that tell you, like here on the right side of the screen, if you turn that stuff off, the only way to know is to go back over the dialogue and see what was said. Um, Let me check on something. Yeah, I want to save. Hold on. Well, the game is auto-saving, one assumes. It's supposed to be. That's right. I have to go to an inn. Okay, so we'll do a manual save. I'm gonna get past all that crap because I found a bunch of stuff already. So I'll go. I guess I'll do a ground zero save, and I'll do a regular save. So I can save at the church for free because I already confessed. This is an inn. Oh, no, go to her. Find yourself horse for wear. It's not a. That says staying in an inn is definitely not a cure for death. Yeah. So if you're cursed, poisoned, or dead, go to church. Ah, here we go. You can claim various bonus items from this chest if you pre-order the game or bought it from certain shops, like what, Steam or the PlayStation Store. This is the website of the shop you bought Remake from, or read the instructions for obtaining. Okay, so maybe yeah, if you bought it from GameStop, I guess. Can I rummage through the end table? Yes, I can. So that's enough money for me to spend the night at the inn, huh? Let's find out. How do you like that? I found just enough money to spend one night at the inn by rummaging through the Gideon's Bible, I guess. Save. They still have phone books in hotels, don't they? 'Cause I know they still have a Bible in them. Most of the hotels I went to in the last couple of years did have them. No, no, I went to one hotel since the pandemic, and it was in Gadsden. Turns out if you're driving from Fallout 3 DC to Houston, you can spend the night in Nashville. You can spend the night outside of Nashville. You can spend the night in Alabama. It all depends. Well, that's the thing. If you're going to Dallas, you might want to spend the night in Nashville. But if you're going to Houston, you're probably better off taking the southern route and driving to Alabama, which I did because I wanted to basically take the warmest route this time of year. Okay, so I did the thing. Okay, so let's play the game as we intended. There's an auto save I want to say every time you leave town. I like the shiny objects they have here in the overworld, so you can just make a beeline right for them. Something of mollusk appears. I don't know how to spell that. We'll do that later. Okay, unfortunately, if you're playing the game normally, the game will automatically like fight for you, but then you'll like accidentally use magic spells you don't want to use. Don't use MP, but I should also say don't use consumables. So we'll see how that goes. Now I'm not gonna level up too much here because I want to at least get the next batch of party members. So I want to see how long it takes for me to unlock them. Follow orders. All follow orders. So we'll just fight, attack. So we'll see how long it takes to do regular menu-driven combat, and then we'll start turning on the auto battle, basically. Again, the problem I have with auto battle is that you can't. Is he getting closer? When was that ever a thing? Mollusk. It's a mall. No, it's a mall. It's a mollusk. Okay, that's funny. We're doing puns. Battle speed, fast, ultra fast, normal. I guess we'll speed it up a tiny bit. But at least I still want you to be able to see how much damage we're doing and how many hits it takes to take out an enemy. This is a war of attrition, isn't it? Licky licky. Did he poison me? So I got 2 gold coins. So 4 fights is enough money for me to spend the night at the inn against a mob like that. Am I poisoned? Status? I don't think I'm poisoned. 6 experience to the next level. Okay, that's good. Cool-headed prince, scion of Erdrick. What was T'Challa's dad's name? I don't remember. Seed of luck. Medicinal herb. So again, I want to unlock the next few party members and then kind of grind up that way. Because I don't want to grind up too much till I get my party members to help. So we can sneak up on them. No ailments or effects. It's fine. Press the right stick for that. Abilities. You can consume MP by using these abilities. Which I want to say was never in the original game. But they added them here. So they balanced the game out by giving you more stuff and making the enemies more complex. Because I want to say this was the first game. I want to say this game did have multiple enemies in it. Yeah, because in the first Dragon Quest, yeah, you were only fighting one enemy at a time. Did I get slowed down or poisoned? I'm covered in goosebumps. So I guess I'm fearful. Dude. Can't take a lot more damage. So is it 2 rounds or 3 rounds to take out those mollusks? Not slimes, but mollusks. But when I level up, I'll be able to get all my HP back. So that's good, but I gotta save. Where's the map? R1 up. Okay, so we gotta haul back. So yeah, we don't want to go too far. So what we'll do is we'll grind up. So we're not gonna spend too much time grinding up. See if I can flee. Made it. Okay. We're gonna head back. We're gonna heal. I don't want to. Again, when I play these games, I don't use my consumables. until I'm like out in the wild. So I hoard my consumables until I have to make a long expedition. Then I'm willing to get, because with the understanding that, yeah, with the understanding that I can buy more later. But again, in games like this, whether a person is able to cast a silly spell is neither here nor there. It's just whether a person can sense when their fellow man is in need that is the mark of greatness. Now they tend to said need, but never mind that now. So there's your political content for the day, I suppose. But this was an educational channel. We play old video games. We learn our gamers history around here. Listen to old men ramble. Let's just go to the. But again, I got enough money from fighting that I can spend a night at the inn. But one more fight and I'll be able to level up. But I gotta burn it here. But I have enough money that's not a problem. Oh, again, if you're making an RPG Maker game, how do you adjust the difficulty level? Well, you give people more money right away so they can buy better gear right away. You can give them better gear from the start, or you can let them take it off and have them fight barehanded. It'd be cool if there were like bonuses for people who do fight barehanded. Like imagine if you got more experience. Yes, I mean like in some games if you fight with like in Final Fantasy 2, like not in the Japanese Final Fantasy 2. If you fight with your hands, you earn barehanded experience. So you become more adept when you fight with your bare hands. If you fight with a sword, like in Secret of Mana, you fight with a sword, you become better at using your sword, you do more damage when you use a sword, and you unlock stronger charge attacks with that sword, that kind of thing. I'm a fan of that, but you have to balance the game around that. I mean, Skyrim, they do a sort of a similar thing, obviously, where it's like, in Skyrim, no, no, whilst thou have me proceed, child. Yeah, we have a bunch of these. You have 9 game saves. So that's good. In the original NES, I want to say the battery only had 3 game saves. In most games, you were only allowed 3 game saves. I don't know which NES games allowed you to save with a battery more than 3 times. Now, obviously, what a lot of those games are probably doing is just having a password. That's what some games do. In other words, you had a password, but the password was saved to the battery. But at least a password lets you play your game 30 or 40 years from now if you no longer have a battery. But thankfully, I want to say like the coin batteries that most old cartridges use are easily replaceable. Like all you need is a screwdriver. You pop the old battery out and you replace it with something new, and it lasts for another 20 years, I guess. Now, in the old days, that battery might have cost an extra $3 or $4. I want to say. I don't know. I don't know how much coin batteries cost, but every NES game I've ever bought, every Super NES game I've ever bought, the battery still worked. When I bought Breath of Fire and Secret of Evermore, the battery still worked. So those games came out in 1995, 1994. So those batteries are like 3 decades old, dog. They're still running. Now I don't know what drains the batteries. Is it use or is it just sitting around? But they're still going. I've never had to open up I've never had to unscrew a cartridge ever for any reason. So and again, all my PlayStation 1 games, they still work, no disk rot. Again, it might be a climate thing, it might be a storage thing. But again, like I played Final Fantasy Tactics, well, several years ago. I can pull it out later. But every PlayStation 1 game I've ever purchased worked. Every Sega CD game I ever bought still works. Every TurboGrafx CD I bought worked. I bought the soundtrack to. I bought E's Book 1 and 2 on the PC CD, and that worked. Every CD I bought in the '90s still worked. So I mean, if there's disc rot, maybe it's in the 1980s. Maybe it's for a few CDs in the '80s, I guess. Maybe a few laser discs might be experiencing some disc rot. But if you have a CD, it takes like 30 seconds, maybe like 5 minutes to back it up. So if you have music or arguably game data, it's trivial to back it up. so that it's preserved. And you can of course, back in the early 2000s, I want to say, yeah, back in the early 2000s, there would be software you can download that would like do like error checks. But I mean, sure, it depended on the disc. It depended on the lasers a lot of the times, but the hardware would like say, okay, we found this sector, but we can maybe another. I guess maybe I don't know if it depended on the program. Like I don't know if a program could read the disk better than others, but again, the point of the program was to extract all the data from the CD-ROM and let you know if there were any bad data bits. Okay, the slime's gonna be used. Let's whittle these guys down. Strangely, I did not mention this in the last video, so the slime went down in one hit. The mall is gonna take a while, and it'll give me goosebumps. I don't know what the fear status is. Okay, so the Bunnicorn and the slime will go down in one hit. This dude's gonna take at least two. It looks like. Okay, so two hits. That's not bad. Let's see how many more experience. Oh, we dropped a treasure chest. Riddle loot. This one. There's an item bag that you can pull from during a fight, but there's also a separate bag that you can't pull from during a fight. So let me see if there's an example. There's the item bag and there's the equipment bag. What's this? Why would I use this? Do my weapons break in this game? No, again, I guess if we're playing on a harder difficulty level, I guess you could do it that way. But again, from a strategy standpoint, what does it change? Again, it's like the game is harder because you have to make significant changes in your tactics. It's harder because enemies take longer to hit, so you have to heal more often. So you can't drift as far away from town as you otherwise would. And that's a very tedious way to make a game harder. Which is the main problem a lot of these old RPGs have is that okay, so let me check on something. Okay, here's the problem. Again, this is the test. Can I select? Can I choose between the slime on the left or the slime on the right? The game doesn't let you do that. So it's the same problem I had with the previous game. In Dragon Quest, in Dragon Warrior, there's only one enemy you had to fight, so fine. In Phantasy Star 2, if you're fighting two different groups of enemies, like you can only choose the species, you can't choose the individual enemy. So the game just randomly picks a slime and attacks it. Now, it might just be attacking the weakest slime if it comes to that, but there's still the basic problem of why can't I target the enemy I want to target individually, like in Final Fantasy? Again, I don't know what the original game did. I'll double check. But Dragon Quest dice rolled the enemy you targeted, and I still think that's a problem. Okay, I didn't double check to see when I level up, so I'm gonna have to hike back. I bet. Do the enemies spawn more if I leave the path? Yeah, I'm nowhere near where I need to be. Okay, so this is gonna work. I'm gonna have to hike back. So it's one of those games. So my hope was that I can get a second party member, but it's not gonna work. So I have to play this way instead. But at this point, the game's no better than Dragon Quest One, so I get my party members. Let's take out the Bunnicorn first. That hurts. I might have to flee. Okay. Yeah, I gotta bail. Nope. I gotta try again. Okay, I made it. So I'm gonna have to book it. Well, I don't know if the running makes a difference. Okay, I made it. So I earned enough money to spend another night at the inn, so we're fine. And I also got some weapons I don't need. I mean, I guess I can keep them until I find another party member because I don't know. I don't know if the other party member is gonna. I don't know if the other party member is gonna have any weapons or gear. Okay, buy. No, we're gonna sell. What would I sell? Maybe I can sell these items. Yeah, like, I don't. Do I even need this? But again, money is money gonna be like? Why even worry about it? Money's not gonna be a problem, is it? This is trash. So I mean, are like certain weapons better against certain enemies? So again, it's like, why would you even buy the weaker items again for a quote challenge unquote? Like, I don't get it. And my throat's kind of sore, so I'm gonna have to get some water. Sure. So I don't really need the money to buy better gear. I just need to level up so I don't take so many hits to the face when I leave town, or at least so I don't take as much damage. Because remember, how it is. You have to get more hit points so you can survive longer on these excursions. So the game is auto saving down there at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. So there's not a lot that I can do right now. So let's explore. Let's go further south. There isn't much here. Just curious if the enemy mobs are different. So again, very basic strategy here. Whittle down the mobs so that they don't kill enemies before they get a chance to attack. So if we're facing two enemies, kill the weakest link quickly as possible so it can't whittle you down. So it can't whittle your health down. Like I said, if you're fighting two different types of enemies, you can't choose an individual enemy. So I'm gonna have to hope that the dice roll. I have to hope that the game's targeting behavior always takes out the weakest enemy. Always, because if it doesn't, then it becomes a liability, and that's just lame for a game like this. Again, Phantasy Star 2. The problem was there would be the the game would target the wrong. In other words, there are two different types of enemies. Let's say for instance you're facing two slimes and two bugs. One of the two slimes is about to die, but the game targets the strong slime, keeping the weak slime alive long enough to take more hit points off you. That always bugged me about Phantasy Star 2. That and the encounter rate was really high, so it just became a grind because you always had to earn money so that you could buy consumables to heal yourself while you're exploring these dungeons because enemies are constantly interrupting you and the dungeons are mazes, so you would constantly run into enemies because yeah, okay, so I leveled up there anyway. But the idea is so I had to spend some gold because I couldn't level up before my health came back. I mean, ideally, you'll level up just before you're about to lose all your HP so that you get it all back for free without having to go to an inn. But again, the inn's so cheap that it doesn't matter. So these guys will go down quickly. So let's do some auto battling here. Shall don't use MP. But I also don't want to use consumables. Yeah, so we'll just follow orders and just choose whatever. Because again I don't want to use consumables. So if there were an option that said, yeah, because I like that they say don't use MP, but they need to have an option that says don't use consumables. Because I remember in a previous game, I think I accidentally used like a healing item. I'm like, don't use the healing item. I'm hoarding those. So again, it's not a big problem, but it means that if you're hoarding, you might have to save scum, or you might have to like just play the game, brain off, mash through the menu options. Does it matter which one I fight first? Because one is in the front and one is in the back. So I don't know what the difference is between the two. Well, I'll check the tutorial or the. I'll check the hints. That was a crit. I'll check the hints to see if they say anything about that. Because again, in the original Dragon Quest, there was no front row back row nonsense. So they got pictures of the Japanese covers. So they got pictures of the Japanese art inside the cover, inside the box. It's a flippable cover, so that's cool. Fantasy Blood. This game's rated E10. Mild suggestive themes, mild language. Hmm. Scenario and game design, Yuji Horii. Musical performance by the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra. Sounds like the kind of thing they would do for a game like this. What was that? I think. What was the game? I think was it no Macross Plus the anime. I want to say they did the Polish orchestra, the Polish Symphony Orchestra, or was it the Israeli Symphony Orchestra? I don't remember. I'll double check the credits. Production values good. So we go Bunnicorn first, then Slime. Because I think the Bunnicorn hits harder anyway. So that's the thing. I got to keep the Mollusk alive because the other two guys go down in one hit. So they weren't able to get a shot on me. So that's good. So that was the ideal situation. I only had to take one hit from three enemies. So if I can take out these mollusks in one turn, then that's good. That means I can start expanding my exploration range. But again, is it typical old school RPG? You hover around town. You pick fights with animals. You get strong enough to eventually expand the radius of your expeditions, and then you ultimately become strong enough to survive a long range expedition, a longer hike out to the next point of interest. Again, typical stuff. R1 up, and it might be worth exploring out here because there might be some glowy things, some shiny things out here you can pick up. And if not, then and again, if not, we're just kind of practicing the combat. There's not a lot of practice here. So again, the problem, Stark Raven. Now, I do remember this character design. Okay, so he goes out in one hit. That's good. Yeah, I remember that character from screenshots. The Raven sitting on a skull was always a nice touch. So again, so if I'm able to take these enemies down in one hit, that's fantastic. That means I can start expanding my range of exploration. So yeah, nothing. Again, I don't know if the enemy mobs are stronger inside the forest or something. Like in Pokemon, if you hang around in the wild grass, enemies will jump you. But the enemies are visible on screen most of the time, if not all the time in the Pokemon games I've played. Well, in the later games, maybe in the earlier games they weren't visible on screen. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the kind of game this is. So what else do I have lying around here? I'll check and see if I have Dragon Quest III remake back there. The library didn't ask for it back, so whatever. But my last library excursion of the year will probably be in a week and a half. I have to start taking stuff back. So we got an autosave here. So I'm just triggering an autosave in case I die. So I'm gonna go further out, see if I can find some more shiny things. That'll haul myself back home. Because if I level, I'll check and see when I level up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to heal myself at some point. So again, it's like why play Dragon Quest One when you can just play this? Like again, like even the remake is this feels the same as the original Dragon Quest at this point in the game. So until I start getting more party members, this feels like the same game. Yeah, okay, so I have to go back home now. I'll double check and see when I level up. Because if I don't level up after this fight, then I'm gonna have to head back home. All right, so the enemies are dying in one hit now with my copper sword. That's good. And again, okay. I could use some magic. I'll check and see if I have some healing. But again, I'm trying to experience the game the normal way without all these extra buffs the game gives you. So I level up next turn after the next fight. So We'll head back home, see if that works out. See if the odds are in my favor here. This might be a good roll. See how quick I defeat them. Good. Okay. So I can beat these guys. So I level up here and I get the recharge. Fantastic. And I'm already several encounters away from home. Yeah. So I completely healed because I turned on that feature where I heal automatically. And I prefer that because the idea of having to hike all the way back home again, why is that? It makes the game harder, but also makes it more tedious. I learned a new ability I'm never going to use because it seems like cheating. I don't have a healing spell, do I? I want to say no. No. Do I have abilities? Not healing, I bet. Strike an enemy before anyone else can act. That's cool. Effective against airborne enemies. So I can do a jump kick on a bat. That's hilarious. I like the idea that's an option. I just don't like the idea that it's just the combat's too simplistic. I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's like that's ultimately what this game has to get past. Because I've played so many of these games over the last 3 decades. Like I know the grind. So unless the game lets me avoid it, the combat needs to be more interesting than this. So I hear this game gets really good 20 hours in. But yes, I mean, again, in the year of our Lord 1991, if you're playing this, or 1992, yeah, I think it's 91. If you're playing this on your NES, what else? What were your options? Final Fantasy One, Dragon Warrior. If you had an NES only. Yeah, if you could find a copy of Ultima Exodus, sure. Ultima Quest of the Avatar, I think, came out later. So when this game dropped, there were probably like 5 games you can play on the console that were like this. So yeah, I get it. But again, we live in the era of freaking Residents of Fate, Tactics Ogre, there's literally like you can I mean, okay, you don't have to play on your phone. I love Gems of War. It's deeper than this. Like the first couple of hours of Gems of War are like they're not amazing, but there's a basic strategy. No, it's not just me doing this. Okay, so now we're fighting the harder enemies. Let's see how we do. Uh-oh, this is bad. You're calling for backup is bad. Okay, so they go down in one hit, though, so that's good. I am Iron Ant. No effects or ailments. That's good, I guess. So they're going down in one hit. That's good, but they can probably still spawn assistance. So I mean, I would argue again for a game like this, like again, you don't need to like show people like experience levels like in Xenoblade. Like here's an elite level 50, don't mess with them. But having enemies on screen is objectively a good thing. Again, there should only be random encounter. Again, and yeah, this game uses the principle of blind random encounters. Obviously, my argument is there's a town west of here. Okay, that's good. That's a spot where I can save and grind up. Here we go, more shiny things. And there are shiny things north of me, northeast of me, in that valley. See if I can see. Yeah, right there at the top right-hand corner of the screen above the mini-map, there's a glowy thing in the back, so we'll come back and explore that. Yeah, we'll go that way eventually. But we have to go to this town. And like I said, if I can get another party member ASAP, then we can start exploring more. We can start expanding our searches. So the good news is most of the mobs have different enemy types, but they don't have multiples of a single enemy type, which is good because it means that it's easier for me to attack individual enemy type. Remember, you can't attack individual enemies. You can only target species. So again, if I'm fighting 2 Mollusks, which one can I fight? The game won't let me choose. Or more important, like I said, the slime. The game won't let me choose which slime to fight. That sucks. Okay, we made it. We're good. So we're going to get an autosave here. That's good. Left win. Left wine. Probably left win. Yeah, I like the reflections. That's a nice effect. The water effects are cool, I guess. Even here on the Switch, they look good. But again, this is a very like you're sitting in the back of the car, you got no place to be for 5 hours. You're gonna do this. I mean, again, if you want to play a game in the back of your car, and if you have internet, I would rather play something like obviously, like a Gems of War or Warframe. Gems of War definitely, because you can play that game for like 5 hours and get into. You can play that game for. I've done hour long, 2 hour long marathons of Gems of War. When I really get into it, I'm pretty into it. But it's a game you can play for like. This game you can play on the bus, kind of bop out some dailies, and you're making progress. So there's still that. There's still that. But again, Gems of War is good. To see, there's a hidden. I'm sitting behind the tree, so I'm fine with that. As long as it's somewhat, as long as it's conspicuous enough to serve the function as there's something, yeah, like a pot. Like if it's conspicuous enough to serve the function, I'm fine with that. But don't just like randomly press the search button and just kind of hope you find something. Like that's Easter egg. That's Easter egg crap. Arg. Ah! Yeah, nearly fell in the muck. I nearly trod in horse manure. One does not simply spend one's days complaining that anything and everything is a bother. For the man who once poison cannot bother to heal himself, doth end up long in his coffin. Speaking of which, when's the Maryland Renaissance Festival? What's the name of that restaurant? Medieval Times. I believe there's a joint out in Arundel Mills, south of Baltimore. I am going back to Arundel Mills eventually. It's a big mall with a casino that I don't go to the casino. I mean, I'm trying to save money. If I want to make money, I can just hoard old video games. Or in my case, maybe I have a 401k. So we'll save here. To which adventure log? I guess it's okay to have a ground zero save. So we'll end this video shortly. It's nearly 90 minutes. Again, my hope is that I could find another party member, but they're probably in the town next door. So we'll have to save that for part 2. Sorry. So I guess I'll grind a little bit and end the video. I'm not gonna make you sit through a bunch of grinding, but I wanted to at least have you understand the pacing of the early game grind. Because I always like to document how long it takes for me to level up and all that crap. So I recorded this on my Plantronics headset plugged into the dual core. It's a Celeron dual core Windows 11 laptop with the Windows 11 camera app capturing this footage at 30 frames a second. Because come on, it's a turn-based RPG. What are we doing here? We have the Vanco capture device that has a pass-through. So I'm playing on my 4K OLED, the 48-incher, the B5 LG OLED. I was supposed to load. It'll probably just make me go in here and then load it, which is fine. Do you have a party of 3 or a party of 4? I don't remember. Maybe it is a party of 4. Continue from the autosave. No, let's do the list. Choose an adventure log. Or whichever, I already saved anyway. So what else? Yes, I'm capturing. So there's more input latency when I capture from the capture device. I will play. I wanted to play another hour of this, but again, I gave up on the first game because I kind of knew where this was going, and I knew how bad the grind was gonna get, and it wasn't gonna get more interesting than that. So I'm like, I just kind of bounced. So we'll get into another fight if we go east of here. How's my health? Okay, let me check my I wish there were a quicker way to figure out when you can level up. So where's that listed? Let me check. Yeah, there's no easy way to find out as I go here. Equipment. Is it under miss? It's under miscellaneous. 57. So I mean, we have to get into what? 9 more fights. I forget how much experience are we getting. Like 10 experience points per turn. We'll find out. I'll double check. That's the other reason why I'm doing this. I want to see how many fights we have to get into before we can do the thing. But again, what I want is more party members so I can start doing the good stuff. Because at this point, this just feels like Dragon Quest 1, and I already played an hour of that. So I got the autosave. That's fine. I like the signs in the road. I don't know if they were in the original game, but it's kind of nice. Oh, you got the drop on me. The ghost seems to hit harder, I wonder. You could also use my MP, but I guess, yeah, I'm trying to play the game normally. Because really, those abilities are just the abilities are just they're basically just they're just spells that give you more combat options, but the game doesn't balance them. It's just an easier way to burn through some enemies, I guess. I think that takes me back home, right? Yeah, but I was supposed to go to the tutorial and check on something. Wish you a way to a previously visited. Yes, yeah, sure. Consumable fast travel, which again I'm not a fan of, but again, if you play Dragon's Dogma, it's probably fine. What's this? Can't sell it, I guess. Can't discard it. Yeah, screw your gift, princess. Or up. And there aren't many shortcuts other than what? Healing with a consumable, I think. We might have a healing spell eventually, so that is the castle, so I might be able to go there in the next video. It's not too much of a hike. Wait, did I pick the right path? Well, again, I don't want to go too far because I might die if I get into too many fights. What's with the winding road, though? These guys go down in 2 hits, right? Yeah, they take 2 hits. So the ghost is going to be the problem. You see, I like the fireball effects. That's kind of cool. Again, they add stuff like that that wasn't in the original game, so that's okay. You can add stuff like that. It doesn't change the fee. It doesn't change the retro vibe. You can lean into it by making the fireballs look like, use sprite scaling, I guess. Might be a bit too retro. And else, did I get 17 experience points from that? I wasn't paying attention. Because remember, I need 57 to level up, so I have to go to miscellaneous. 41. So I might need like 3 more fights. No shinies? Oh, there it is. Oh, it's on the other side. There's gonna be a trip. It's probably a ship I have to use to get that. Yeah, so I can't choose which ant I want to kill for. So yeah, again, these are clones. So if they're duplicates, you can't choose the enemy you want to fight. Okay, so I should be able to wipe out this guy on the next turn, so we should be good. Unless he calls for more help. But if he calls for help, then he just leave himself vulnerable. So we're fine. So many XP. Yeah, 9. So we have to do like what? I didn't double check. We have like 4 more fights. That's not terrible. So I guess we can grind those out and I can end the video. I'm gonna end it here, but I'll grind it out when I'm not recording. Okay, I made it. So I can save here and then we'll bounce. Okay, so yeah, this game's in the C tier. Once we get more party members, we'll see if the game gets tremendously more interesting. It probably won't. But I have to go to an inn because I don't have enough hit points to survive the next batch of fights. Again, you can use MP to get at. You can use MP to burn through some enemies maybe, and that might help. But because you're gonna get your MP back when you go to an inn anyway. Because remember, in a lot of again basic grinding strategies, you use MP so that you don't have to go to an inn, but then eventually you go to the inn to get your MP back. How much is this place? 12. That's fine. We can get that from 2 fights. 2 fights worth of gold, and you can spend the night at the end. So I mean, basic algebra crap. In other words, you earn. You need to get into 2 fights. You need to fight 2 mobs to get enough money to spend the night at the end. You have to get into what 10 or 11 fights to level up. Like maybe we'll find out. Locked by DLC, huh? Yeah, of course it is. So we'll be back. We'll play some more of this. It's a cold day, so I'll stay indoors. I'll cook some pizza. We'll have a good time playing an old game that's probably not very good. Not a bad old game, just an antiquated old game. Not gag, a good antiquated game, but we're playing the classics, kids. Well, at least in this video and the next one.